Welcome to the Behavior Code. This is another great episode. I have author of Science of Attraction, Shane Smith here. He's a corrections officer working in a corrections facility. I don't know the exact title, but I'll be handing it over to him. He's an extremely attractive man with lots of tattoos everywhere that are really badass. And also he's a really muscular, tough guy. Comes from Canada, and I've met him a few times, and he's also a student of Arash Bazar. He came this weekend to the last boot camp. He was there online, and he's done a couple of messengers training with Arash Bazar. And again, his Science of Attraction is a book that he's written that seems to synthesize many other books on evolutionary psychology, adding to it a big emphasis on I would just call it like raw survival and masculinity. Like it adds to it an element of danger almost, and a directness in the communication that is you don't find by a bunch of researchers that are writing evolutionary psychology books. They're doing research. Shane's living that life. And so here he is, Shane Smith on the Behavior Code. Welcome.
Well, thank you, brother. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. I always look forward to conversations with you whenever we can.
Most definitely. So we were talking about, new things. What are some new things that you've noticed since this last boot camp, Awakening the Alpha? By the way, if you're watching this episode later on iTunes or YouTube, of course, leave a comment. But notice that this is recorded during the global lockdown for the COVID-19 virus. So that'll give you a little perspective. We're like 2 weeks into the lockdown. And so we just did this boot camp online called Awakening the Alpha. So alpha characteristics during the COVID lockdown. And so this is what I'm asking the author of Science Attraction, his take on the boot camp.
Yeah. I guess the thing right away that I've noticed immediately is how brainwashed people are. How much after you take something like this or after you go to an event like this, how much you distance yourself from people in society. Like it's just, if you really grasp what's going on and it's confirmed through this weekend, you either have a choice of accepting the bullshit you were fed or actually just saying no more and then going the other way. So this weekend was definitely confirmation of how brainwashed people are and what they've accepted and the sort of conventional narrative that goes around that I don't want to be a part of anymore. Like I actually got my first face tattoo right up here. Above my brow.
I was wondering if that was like brand new because I was like, I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, like that was no hesitation, and the word is actually absurdity. So that means a lot to me. And after this weekend, I felt that way before this weekend, but after this weekend, it was just confirmation, like I said. So I didn't hesitate to go get it. It's my first one. And I work in an industry where that might be frowned upon, but I just didn't give a shit. So I'm so far from where I used to be that it was vital. This weekend was vital for me as far as learning and as far as confirmation.
Wow, got your first face tattoo. That must have been some deep inner shit. Was it the shifts that happened inside? I mean, you were probably already looking to get a face tattoo, but what was maybe would you give us an example of like this narrative that you're saying you saw how enslaved people were, or what's one or two takeaways that you got?
Yeah, sure. So yes, I'd always thought about getting one. It was always in the back of my mind because before this weekend, actually before what started it was Love Spell 2.0 when Arash came back. Yeah. And he started talking. There was an immediate change in me. It's almost like it was already there, but when he started 2.0, it was like confirmation of things I had already almost knew or wanted to know. And it was just it was a relief when he started teaching in 2.0. So this word and all this sort of tattoo on the face and stuff like that was always there. But once that happened, it was much easier to go and just get done because there was no hesitation afterwards because of so many things through the teachings and before him, what I was understanding through my own study. So as an example, when you realize what system was in place that gave you your education and gave you your values and gave you this sort of collective agreement that everybody is coming from. Once you see at the top the system that gave you that, it's it becomes absurd, hence my tattoo. So it was very easy for me to distance myself afterwards, realizing through confirmation of this weekend and through my own study before that, of what system is actually giving you your information on how they want you to view the world. So once that's, once you can clearly see the people as far as you can go, that sort of system, that sect that gave you that information, it's much easier to go your own way and say, fuck it, I'm done with that.
Man, and you're triggering or whatever, you're stimulating this idea in me because the narrative runs so deep. And I'm thinking like Disney storylines, even like as a young child. And a lot of things I'm reacting to in my environment, in my life, I'm not fully aware of like why I'm reacting that way to them. And it's this deep storyline brainwashing that I've, gone under. And I'm wondering, what is your experience in unbrainwashing women from the Cinderella plotline storyline of like a prince is going to come and be just with me and rescue me from the 7 dwarfs that are all over her, like white on rice. I wonder what that's an analogy about. And, what's your experience? Do you have any experience of almost like confronting the story? Because obviously the storyline that's fed society benefits women because marriage benefits women. Marriage does not benefit men. Nowhere in history was a man benefited by marriage except if he married a higher value woman than he was. And so why did she do that? She must really think low of herself to do that. And, or there's literally no other options, but then there's always an option. And so the practice of marriage and the one guy, one girl that's been pushed through religion and then through culture and everything, when you confront that in the woman, have you had that conversation or that argument or that whatever, where it seems like she seems to be voicing objections that spawned from a Disney-like fairy tale storyline of how the relationship, how she imagined it was supposed to be, because when it doesn't go the way she thought it was supposed to be, there's a big emotional reaction to that. And I'm wondering if you've encountered that and how you handled it, or how you would handle it now.
Yeah, of course. Pretty much every woman that you encounter that, anybody that's really going to encounter, but personally, yes, you run into that problem because, like I said, if you can recognize the system that gave you that narrative, then you can see the fallacy in it. So once she starts speaking according to that program, immediately that she's just regurgitating that system. So I do it 2 ways. I point that out, and then I go to my book, the teachings in my book, or the understanding in my book of the biology and the mechanics of our reproductive system and stuff like that, and how we're these genetic units having a conversation between each other. So I do it twofold. But it's you can't do it all at once, obviously, because it's just too much. Like, as you know, when you're studying stuff like this, even based on this weekend and my book and stuff like that, it's not an overnight process. It's a continuous study. So when a girl comes to me and she's just parroting this narrative, you can't immediately hit her with all those things, because it would be too much. She would just deny it. It goes against everything she's ever thought. So it's a gradual process. I through many conversations, I try and sort of de-brainwash her through the system she was involved in, and then through my understanding of nature and mechanics and genetics and the reality of this assessment between each other. So I do it step by step by step. I don't do it all at once because it just wouldn't work.
I'm hearing a beeping sound. Is that your computer? Or
that's not on my end, brother.
You don't hear it? Okay, you don't hear it. Okay, good. Very good. It's a good segue into your book. So What is it about your book that would help this narrative? Because if the marriage I think a lot of people are laughing at the idea of marriage now, but it's still so like the girlfriend boyfriend model is marriage. That is the marriage model of one guy, one girl is the marriage model. And so even people that already know marriage is nonsense, contract with the government, all this bullshit, if they don't yet think of it so much as it is slavery of the man is what it is, but the boyfriend girlfriend model is the same. So the whole world basically is drenched in this. If you don't do it this one guy, one girl, now they'll be tolerant of girl, girl. They'll be tolerant of guy, guy. They'll be tolerant of gender neutral, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But if it's guy, multiple girls, she doesn't get with other guys, he gets with other girls, they don't talk to other guys. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not fair. And it's like, what are you trying to control, really? Are you trying to control my women? Because I control my women, because they make a choice for themselves that they want me to control them. Because here, you can hear them talk. Do they sound like they're brainwashed? Does she sound like she's brainwashed when she talks? And if you make it sound so easy, like it's so easy to like control somebody, like she's a woman that has her own machinery and choices, but she's pressured. And then when she feels that pressure, well, she'll, like you said, regurgitate, or she'll parrot that storyline that's being told to her. And yes. I'm going off on a tangent right now, but sometimes it's difficult but I guess that's what earns this sort of thing. Cause you end up fighting not the belief systems of her, but you're fighting the belief systems of everyone around her. That's really, because it's easy to convince the girl when you're alone with her. It's when she gets the pushback from all of her circle of people, when she has friends blocking her because of me, or because of me. It's not even because of me. It's because they can't handle the truth. It's amazing hate that I get, that she gets, on the behalf of her relationship with me. I don't even know where I'm going with this. But about your book, so you're using your book in your teachings of women in your life, and how does that go down? Like, that must be really, really gratifying to have this thing that you've written and be able to teach something from it. Do you use it like you have it memorized front and back, and you're like, I have a story just for that, and like you go to it, or you just hand it to her and say, read this, or how does it go?
No, I use that perspective. Like, that book is just basically an understanding I have, and then I worded it, 300 different ways. So I usually don't pull out my book, but I can. It's obviously, a DHV. If you look, I'm a published author and this and that. You definitely use it in game and stuff. But as far as the knowledge in the book, no, I present that 100 different ways to my current understanding now, because that book is like when I wrote it, it's older compared to where I am now. So yeah, I don't actually pull it out, but I do explain to her
nice.
the fallacy in where she is and how she thinks about relationships. But I do it in a very convictive way. Like, yeah, I do it in a way where it's not aggressive or anything like that. Like, I present it in a way where she can get it. I gave her examples. I pointed out, I demonstrate it myself when we're out, of protection and safety. And then you start to hear things from the woman, like, oh, I've never had a guy do that. I've never felt that. When you hear a woman say, I've never done that, or I've never felt that, or I've never seen that, then you're going the right way, because it's getting her out of that normal narrative that she's so used to with other guys that fall in line with the same brainwashing that everybody else is used to. So I just pepper these things in there. I don't like lecture her or anything like that. But yeah, when things come up,
lecture her. I should start peppering.
When she says something, I'll catch it. You catch it. Because you know the brainwashing, and because you understand the science behind attraction so well, you're able to catch things she says, and then you can stop her and say, whoa, 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 wait. You have to think about this. You have to think about this. And then it's easier because she starts to see it, because when she can compare my truth to the bullshit she was taught, it's not a decision anymore. Like, you either have to say, well, I'm not going to accept the truth and go back to my bullshit life, or I'm going to accept it and move forward with this man and get better. So it's easier for me to do it because I have both leverages.
Yeah, it's the truth. Actually, the universe is on my side because I'm with nature.
Yeah.
It's fucking easy, actually. So anytime she tries to say the universe provides for me, that's the same universe that's providing for you right now, that's talking through me. And I use nature out there, and I use the genetic code, and I use the fact that men are so weak by setting her free to go explore and interact with them. And that's the biggest salesman for me, is every other man.
Exactly.
But it's also that's a dangerous sale, because men are dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a teaching too, right? Like, it's all in there. And when you present that stuff to her, she doesn't really have an argument. Like, when I present the information of what I know and understand about women, men, dynamics, attraction, genetics, and stuff like that, her argument is, well, I don't agree with that. Well, what are you bringing to me that is against that? Oh, well, I was told that, or this or that, or that's not an argument. Like, I have example after example after example that I can just destroy the narrative that you were given, but you don't have one. So that alone you should recognize, oh shit, I might have bought the bullshit.
It really is. It doesn't make sense. It's an emotion. It's the emotion of,
Exactly.
I don't like how I feel now, and I'm imagining a future in a different situation where I'll feel better. But the existentialism of it is the grass is greener. Is you always, when you see something that you want, you see it as it's already manifested. You don't see all the trouble to get there. And that fantasy, that Cinderella fantasy, there's a lot between here and there that if you had to go through that, well, you just won't, because how are you going to be born a princess, really? And who's going to make you a princess? You're already grown up. Your dad didn't do it yet. How are you going to make yourself a princess? By what? How? What does that even mean? And if you're
Exactly.
not going to be a princess, you're going to be an independent woman. I got, like you said, a billion trillion examples of women that went that route, and they're 40, 50, 60 now, and they wish they can't go back. Let's say they can't go back and take that. And time is cruel to women. And I didn't make it that way. It's the same universe that provides for you is the same universe that made women mature. Their mateable clock goes to about the age 40. And after that, I mean, what do you do? What do you, let me get your take on this. What do you do? Why would you stay with a woman after she's 40, Shane?
I wouldn't. Like, she would have to, a woman after 40, why would she be in my life? There would have to be some significant benefit to my life. Like, she's bringing something there. I can't, past 40, I can't even think of something, man. I don't know. It would have to be, it would have to be severely significant where it would be, her body would be out of it. Like, she would have to be obviously extremely attractive at 40 to be around, but past her body, past her reproductive ability, there has to be something there for me to keep going and to be inspired to have her in my life. Maybe something towards business. I could maybe relate it towards there. Like, she would help out and grow the business or something. Like, she would be a huge asset to me financially. Like, there would be some balance there, some contribution financially or otherwise that I would have to find. Past 40, man, that's.
Yeah, I see that too, because, and I see that I'm putting the woman in a situation because I'm taking advantage of nature around me and the universe around me, because I didn't make it so that she stops having babies after 40. But I'm also
Right.
not giving her a baby now that she's like, I don't know, 26 or whatever. Like, so it's like, well, if you're not going to be with me after 40 because I can't have kids, then just have a kid with me. And it's like, yeah, but I don't want kids. So it's like, well, then what am I to do as a woman? Like, if I want to be with you, knowing that you're going to drop me when I get to 40 for no other reason than I can't have kids, but you don't want kids with me. And so I'm putting her in a situation where it's like, she needs to think of her future and and especially your future after menopause, because what's life going to be like? I mean, yeah, the incidence of rape just drops. Like, it's men just barely ever, women that are over 42, just really over 36, they just don't get raped. It's rare. Rape is already rare and it's travesty, and those men should be castrated. But women over 36, over 40, they don't get raped because men are raping reproductive. It's a genetic thing that men want a woman that's reproductive. But if I'm not going to reproduce with you, then what's her motivation with me to even stay with me up to 40? Because then after 40, what is she going to do? So, like, I'm designing my life so that, yeah, she becomes invaluable in the business and in the replication side of things, of being a pre-selection and a social proof. If I have kept a woman to the age of 44 and she's been with me for 18 years, and look at how smart she is, look at how graceful she is, look at how well-spoken she is, look, she's coaching other women, look, she doesn't have a problem with my life, she's not giving me resistance, and we make money together, and look at how well I treat her, younger girls are going to look at that like I have a future. It's possible, even though the world is overpopulated and nobody wants to reproduce with me because guys don't want to have kids. I could find a guy, maybe this guy, maybe a different guy, but I could find a guy that would keep me past 40 if I just become like her. Like someone a woman that just integrates into it. And there's my motivation, because that means when let's say I'm 34 or 54 or whatever, that's challenging for a 54-year-old man to get girls in their 20s. But if I have a woman that's been with me 20 years and she's in her 40s and she's as fine as she is, and she's helping me through my life that I've designed for her to be able to be my co-pilot, for her to be able to, be my teammate, that I could bump set and she'll spike it, or really she'll bump and then girl number 2 will set it and then I'll spike it or whatever. there's a motivation there for me. And then of course the spiritual growth or the mental growth development of being in a relationship with someone that you deeply care about for decades. How much mental development when you go through so many trials, when you go through so many obstacles, you know, when you go through so much handling haters, handling family, breaking free of the enslavement of these stupid beliefs, and having actual some fun and adventures where she can feel safe and I can feel free. Because that's the plight. Women, they need safety like men need freedom.
Absolutely.
What do you think about all that?
I think that was I think that was really on point, brother. And especially one thing that stuck out is the whole pre-selection game. Like your example of if you have this successful, attractive 40-year-old woman around you, and it's been demonstrated that she's been around you for a while, that is going to trigger other females to come and at least be interested in what's going on in your life and curious and want to know and get to know you based on that pre-selection level. So I think that's a great example of having someone at that stature around you and demonstrating that she is successful, that she is helping your business, that there is a growth in your life from her having you in her life other than having sex with her. I think that's a major, major point that guys need to recognize, that it is on a genetic communication for women that who are younger, that they're going to see this pre-selection and absolutely be drawn to you.
Yeah. And they're going to, because they're all suffering with relationships that didn't pan out the way that they didn't last, or the guy turned out to be chumpy. They all lost their virginity, gave their virginity to a guy that I mean, how many of them were pleased with who they gave their virginity to? They thought he was going to mean or add up to something else. So when they see a man that's managing a relationship, that's making it work, that the woman is growing, that the business is growing, everybody's growing,
yep,
and it's long lasting, man, they want that. They want the recipe, you know?
Absolutely.
And I'm interested in finding the recipe myself, you know?
Absolutely. Even if they carry that fucking bullshit Disney narrative, the unconscious is still going to be drawn to that. Like they can argue all day how it's right or wrong, but there's still going to be attraction there. Whether they move on it, I don't know. They might not. But you're literally hitting the code when you demonstrate that in your life. And it's undeniable to the system and a woman when they see that. Like I said, they can consciously make the decision, well, I know they can come up with all these rationalizations, no, this, that, but they're still going to feel attraction towards you 100% of the time. It's nature. You can't deny it. It wins every time.
It is definitely going to win in the end. And very cool. So let's see, where do we go from here? We could talk about messengers, or does anybody, we got some people on Instagram, some people here on Zoom. If you're catching this on iTunes or YouTube later, you can always come. It's Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. There's a Zoom link and you can join us live. Facebook, anybody got any questions?
Sorry, brother, you're cutting out.
Sorry, I think it froze for a second. I don't know. Do you hear me now? Oh, man. Yeah, they can find the Signs of Attraction on Amazon, right?
Yes. So there's two places you can find it, on Amazon and my website, thematingcode.com.
Thematingcode.com. And brother, I couldn't find your Instagram. I wanted to tag you. What's your Instagram handle?
Oh, my Instagram is @thematingcode.
It's the mating code. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. The mating code. Very cool. Okay. So where do we go from here? Let's talk about messengers. We got Dilrod is saying, have either of you read NLP, The Essential Guide? I have the book, but haven't opened it. Just wanted to see if you had comments on it. I haven't read it. NLP is cool. But you know, the reason why I'm a student of Arash Dibazar, and not really a student of other people, except like I got some yoga people that I follow and I do what they say. But that's limited to within the yoga room. Like in life, why do I follow a guy? First of all, guys, I think should have a guy that they follow.
Yeah.
And who are you going to follow? If you haven't found the guy for you, sounds kind of gay. Like I'm the woman. I am I'm a feminine role in the student-teacher relationship. So if you haven't found your teacher, then you're probably following a lot of different guys, half-assed.
Yep.
And you're going to get half-assed results with that until you find your coach, your mentor. So doing that, I would only be studying NLP, or I'd be studying whatever I'm studying. I found out for myself that I was doing it for a social experience and for a beautiful, wondrous experience with women. That I found at the end of my guitar playing, even at the end of my yoga, at the end of my PhD, at the end of my wrestling, like if I follow any of my ambitions to the maximum, what I wanted with that, it was some championship or some level of success that right after that had a lot of women. That was my vision, was always be the best at this thing so that at the end of it, I can have a happy relationship. And so I just kind of bypassed the goals, you could say, and I'm just going for the relationship. But there's some catch-22, because to get the relationship, you got to have goals in life, because she's not going to be just attracted to you just because you're a guy, right?
No.
And so that's what I have to say on the NLP. Shane, what's your take on NLP? And, you know, what's your take? Do you resonate with that idea of like at the end of all ambitions of as a guy is a girl that I want, or girls?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. So the book that he mentioned there, I don't think I read that one, but I have read a few NLP books, and it's along the same line as kind of what you said. Like, I have a specific lifestyle I want to live. Like, I have a clear picture of what I want it to look like. So anything I read or anybody that I learn from is literally fits into that mold of where I want to go, because they're either living it or, well, that's just basically it. They're living that lifestyle. So anything that person has taught or come forth or whatever they bring, I definitely pick up and study it. Like Arash is obviously the number one here. So yeah, I've read a few NLP and it definitely works. I just haven't read that one. Sorry, what was the other one?
Well, the other one, and I didn't quite finish the point. Dilrod is saying that I'm mostly studying finance, real estate, and I'm learning social dynamics for sales as a realtor, if that gives you context. It does give me context. So in that sense, and BC, oh, I see. Got it. Okay.
Oh no, sorry. I know what you said, brother.
Obviously, BC is the mentor there. What I'm saying about AZD is, to whatever degree he says go study NLP, I'll go study NLP with that, because I'm looking for the effect, the impact that he has on women and men and persuasion and dating, and his advice. It's on point. I'm smart. I'm a PhD in science. I have a master's degree in science. I'm a published science author. And although it's journals, I haven't written a book that was published, but it's journal articles. And I'm good at what I do. And so I have been studying Arash Bazaar for 5 years, very dedicated to a lot of content. And I haven't found, really any fault. I mean, maybe there's some things I don't fully, like I'm not on that, but those are almost insignificant things. They're just little sound bites here or there. And everything else, I mean, that's like 99.9%. Like, this is what I'm wanting this. It's all resonating. It's all resonating as truth. It makes sense. And it's making a positive impact on my life. And I'm swamped with those studies. You know, he puts out a lot of content, and there's always more to study. He's been at it for a while. So when it comes to studying social dynamics, then that's what I would, I guess, pass on to you, Shane. Was one, the idea that at the end of all male ambitions is the desire for the women of your dreams, that you're pursuing those ambitions to the maximum because you really want the women, even if you're wanting the women, the relationships of your dreams. So that point, and then this idea of social dynamics for to be a realtor, like to help you succeed as a realtor.
Right. Yeah. So literally every guy, if they can take this in, it's kind of hard, but it's definitely going to be rejected by some people because it might be sort of new information, or it might seem bizarre. But literally every guy on the planet is working towards becoming more attractive to the opposite sex, whether they know it or not, because that is literally what your body is trying to do in nature. Everything else is relevant. You're literally trying to climb a ladder, a social hierarchy in nature, to become the most attractive you can, to gain the highest value of replication, or the highest point of a woman, like the most attractive woman. You're trying to gain that in nature. So every movement you make is towards that end goal. That's all your genes want. They want to climb the ladder in nature to become the most attractive to the opposite sex. So you have a massive amount of options in spreading your genes. That's the whole game in nature. So I mean, it's great to, like, but we all pursue different avenues. But in like realtor, yogi, artist, writers, all that kind of stuff, every single movement towards getting better in the end is to have access to beautiful women. That's what we're doing on a subconscious level. So yes, I 100% agree. Anything you're doing, trying to get better at, trying to evolve that, in the end, it's for a woman. It's for your genes to move forward. It's to extend your lineage and have access to the most beautiful women as best you can. That's the game going on underneath all the bullshit.
The game under the bullshit, for sure. That's what it is, man. Man, there's so much subconscious. What was it earlier? I said to you something that was getting kicked up subconsciously. Oh, it was the girl we saw that like high five the other guy and then went like this, like she was winning. You remember? And at first I thought, my first hunch, so she's like kind of jogging. This guy's walking a dog and she like kind of jogs up to him and is like making believe like she's like running a race or something, like doing like this. And then she puts out her hand and gives him a high five. I mean, she's not the most attractive looking woman, but whatever. Gives him a high five. And then right as she runs past him and then she puts up her arms like this or that. And at first I was like, the roles are kind of reversed here. Like you just walked your dog all the way over here to meet her and she's like working out kind of thing. And then passing you up and whatever. And that was my initial reaction. But then as I looked at it, just for like 2 more seconds, and then I looked at it and I was like, well, wait. So she just won the championship after making skin-to-skin contact, kino, we call it, kino, with the guy that came to see her. And right when I was having this process run, that she puts her arm around his waist and pulls him in, and it's like, and they're walking, and he holds her hand from over top and is leading her. And I'm like, oh, it makes sense that the whole gesture of the high five and the running and whatever was a subconscious program of, I just won the prize. I just won the race. And the winnings is this guy. So the girl was running like a subconscious program that came out as, I just won a race, was the conscious communication. But the subconscious was, this is the mating. This is my mate. And I just won because my mate is here. And so that's like the game that's under the bullshit, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, if guys want to take something away that they can use or that they can carry forward, is that, so from the man's point of view, the first judgment ever, like, so when we're out in the environment, everything is basically data, and you're interpreting that data according to whether or not it benefits your survival. We could go there at a basic level, right? Like everything is information in the environment that you're assessing whether or not it threatens your survival or it aids your survival. So every time you see a woman, unconsciously, you judge her based on sex. You judge her based on whether or not you would mate with her. Instantly, automatically, 50 trillion cells look at that woman and say, would I fuck her? Yes or no? What's her potential? It makes these massive amounts of calculations to her body, everything. It assesses her within a millisecond and says, what is her potential and health benefits to my DNA? That's what goes on immediately every time you see a woman in the environment. So from a woman's point of view, it's the same, but it's not exactly the same. It is biology. She looks at you and says, what is his genes like? But it's more as, what is his benefit to my survival? Because attraction is a reproductive system communication. It's 2 reproductive systems judging each other 24/7 when you're out in the environment. So all this communication going on underneath is reproductive benefit and survival benefit. It's happening 24/7. That's all you're doing when you're out. So she's judging you based on that hierarchy where she is, from the limited information she does have when she first sees you. Your look, your walk, everything, all these little sub-communications, she's judging as soon as she sees you. So she can only make a limited assessment right in the beginning, but once you start talking and demonstrating what you have in your life, then it becomes more and more clear of how she can use you. Your utility to a woman, that's all you are. You're a benefit to survival. That's all you have to get as a man. So because in nature, you're climbing that ladder, she judges you based on that ladder. Sorry, I just kind of went on a rant there, but that's where I'm going.
It's great. I love it. 50 trillion cells immediately judge if they want to fuck you. And she's, it was amazing. I had a vision about, she's looking for how you're going to benefit her survival. And I'm looking for how she's going to benefit my replication. And
yes.
If I, let's say, was some kind of, I connect her, let's say she meets my tribe. And so she meets Brian Casella and she meets Akash and she meets Fernando and she's around these guys. And even if she doesn't directly meet them, they see her and they know she's with me. And if she's in trouble, she has more survival value because I have a tribe that can help survive her, make her survive. I'm looking for something like that replication wise. And it's not, that doesn't necessarily have to be like her tribe, her group of friends, because I took her from her tribe. So it shouldn't really be coming from her tribe. But somehow she needs to benefit me with similar connections that, and then it goes into the male-female dynamic where, is she going to capitalize on the survival connections I've made for her? Probably not. She never needs to reach out to them. She doesn't need to friend them. They're there if I need them. Do I reach out to her replication connections that she brings me? Yes. Because that's how she's going to know that she picks the right man when all of these other replication units see me as the right man. She'll know. It's proof. There's someone else. It's not just you. You're not crazy. You're not psycho. There's someone else here that's saying, yes, you should be with this man. This is the right man.
That's right. That's right. If guys can get that, a woman's attraction assessment comes directly from her reproductive assembly, from that system. If they can picture that a woman judges you based on her vulnerability of that system that's been generated, that the limited supply of eggs, the vulnerability, the weakness of it, all that tied into one, that's who's assessing you based on attraction. She looks at your biology, obviously, because she has limited eggs, and then the vulnerability, safety and protection. That's all the assessment is on attraction from a woman. If you could picture her thinking about you from a reproductive, from the assembly that God gave her or nature gave her, that's all she's thinking from in that moment, and 24/7 afterwards in the relationship when you're married. That's how you know you're fucking up, because you're going against that assessment. Just take that one body part and think she's thinking from that.
Yeah, man, that's very cool. Very helpful. Awesome, man. Well, let's wind it down. Obviously, if you're on iTunes or YouTube, leave a comment, follow. You can find Shane at, it's not the attraction code. It is the mating code on Instagram and thematingcode.com, I believe it was.
Thematingcode.com, yeah.
Yep, thematingcode.com. You also find the Signs of Attraction paperback. Do you sell hardback, paperback?
No, paperback's on Amazon, and then I have an ebook on my website.
And the ebook. So if you want the ebook or the paperback on Amazon, that's super cool. And so we'll definitely have you back. I know I had you on Enlightened Masculinity podcast. This is Behavior Code. I'll give you any closing words, anything you'd like to say to the audience. They'll catch this recording. Thousands of people are going to see this. What's some closing words? If the world is ending now because of the cataclysmic Chinese originated viral infectious disease number 19 lockdown, what would you want them to, in the post-apocalypse where they catch a recording of this, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know that you were lied to, that you were sold a massive heap of shit that you stored as reality. So there's a great opportunity right now with what's going on and the information that's being put out, that you can actually, you can gain the truth. You can gain more clarity towards that little voice that's in the back of your head saying, I think this is bullshit. You can actually confirm that now. So I would definitely urge you to get off your ass and start to do some research. Just to understand the amount of bullshit that you were sold and the amount of lunatics that actually structured that system that you believe and that you've carried with you your entire life. And it's available now. Like, it's a good time right now to go on and find that truth.
Hell yeah. Thank you for joining me for this podcast. I'd love to have you back, and I'll see you next time, Shane. Thanks to all the audience for tuning in. If this was good for you, share it, and we'll see you next time at Behavior Code.
Thanks, brother.
You're welcome. End recording.